right, and we're live. So today we have a special guest for the podcast. And before we get into that, I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my members, Sir Volkerstein. Thank you very much, man. You're everywhere, supporting the community, and I really appreciate you. And let's welcome to the podcast in my opinion, the best speed running channel in Hearts of Iron 4, M3an. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm great, having a good day, and my kids are finally asleep, so I can go after my favorite pastime, talking about Hearts of Iron, and later just doing some strategy stuff. So yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
So we were talking about your name and the origins of your name and people's hesitancy to call you M3an, including myself.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why so many people like butcher it and call me man or something, but it's something that dates back to when I first started, and people in voice chat tried to trash talk me and just butchered the name. I don't know why that is. I think lead speak just never made it into mass language. I don't know, but it's called M3an, or spelled mean, like meaning or being mean, which kind of dates back to my earlier internet behaviors, which weren't the nicest. But I never really changed it over the years, despite drastically changing my behavior. So I kind of left it as a reminder to not fall back into old habits and be a nice guy on the internets.
Hey, when we were young, we all did stupid things, including myself. And yeah, I think it takes a while to mature on the internet, particularly since, you could just, when you're juvenile, you think you could do whatever and you're going to get away with it. So the internet is a mean place for sure for people that are growing up. Tell us.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Tell us where is your origins? What games were you playing where you were in chat and having these interactions?
Classic trash talking lobbies. Like it wasn't way before even voice chat came up in not Call of Duty, in Counter-Strike early beta days. So it's I don't know. Since I played online games, I always had difficulties to kind of manage the emotions, and I think everyone who played games like League of Legends has at least some understanding of why it's bad for your mental health to play that too much, which I definitely did, as well as some other online games. And I realized it's not good for me, and doesn't really help me get better at stuff. Kind of the opposite sometimes. So that's kind of the games I was mostly playing. Shooters like Counter-Strike, games like League. Curiously enough, I never really got into strategy multiplayer because I always found that is kind of a bit too slow. But if you ask me, I'm more like a single player guy. A lot of multiplayer with friends, but my favorites are definitely single player.
Yeah, that's funny. I was doing the Counter-Strike multiplayer back in the day, and then I was never a League guy. I was a Dota guy.
I see. Yeah.
And I guess, you could have caught me yelling at the screen many times in many games when when the team is just like some guys doing, there's like basically positions, and when someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or they're trying to chat it up, and they're putting themselves in front of the team, that always was the one that got me.
Yeah, true. But I won't try to make it better than it was. I was definitely blaming others for my own shortcomings as well. Totally deflecting, like everyone sucks except me. Not every time, but definitely something that came up from time to time.
Yeah, I've been there with you. I've thought about that myself, and I guess we grow up after a while. But what I'm interested in asking you about today is, how did you get your start in YouTube? Like, how did you make your first video, and what got you interested in it?
It's a little longer story. Like the account exists for a while. I've used it for various jobs. Actually, I've been working as a gaming editor for close to a decade. And I always, when there was a trailer to upload or stuff, I sometimes just used my own channel, which just accumulated a couple of subscribers over the years, a couple of views. But I never really used it in any deeper capacity. And then I started uploading some speedruns, just unedited stuff. And one of it, which was a very short speedrun, kind of caught the attention of the YouTube algorithm and kicked it up to 500,000 views over a couple of months. And afterwards, that kind of definitely piqued my curiosity. I was a bit disappointed in myself because I only realized what was going on when the peak was long over and the views already started dropping again. But kind of the mates from the speedrunning Discord and we had this idea to make speedrunning, or speedrunning specifically in Hearts of Iron 4, a bit more widely known, because it was such a niche. We rarely had any runners. So we kind of opened up our strategy treasure boxes, and some people very liberally took our ideas, but the idea, of course, out from our perspective was, please give credit. We want to get some more people interested. When this didn't happen, I was very pissed at some people who did this. So I said, fuck this, I'm doing this myself. Made a commentary on Roman Empire in 1936. And it was my first audio commentary editing thing. Posted it to Reddit with a bit of info to it, and it was immediately picked up by one of the largest gaming magazines online. So it got ridiculously a lot of views, was copied, like the article got copied in many languages. So that kind of helped the algorithm to very easily understand what my target audience is, and anything that I published after that had a good start, let's say it that way.
Is that the one a year ago with the 300K views, the Roman speedrun?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, and then you've refreshed that because of all the updates here 5 months ago, I see.
Yeah, twice actually. I was so obsessed with forming the Roman Empire that I overestimated how my viewers are interested in this topic, because I kind of overdid it at one point. But yeah, I learned from that.
How would you say that you overdid it?
I think I posted twice in a row, or I posted an Italy run very shortly before the By Blood Alone DLC was supposed to release, and everyone was wondering, why are you doing this now? Like, I want to see what you're doing with it after the DLC. And I have already done a video on it just very recently. So the interest was just not that high for it. Yeah, but that was just a side note. Overall, it was a great experience. Kind of because I very much enjoyed the editing process, and speedrunning Hearts of Iron 4 is, yeah, it checks all kinds of boxes for me. So I very much enjoy it, and I'm very grateful that people enjoy watching it too.
Well, I think what I enjoy about your videos is they're so well edited, and then you put up like the individual strats, like basically hints and tips on the screen as you're talking. Say, pause the screen here, read this, and basically sets a new bar for how to do guided content, because my videos are so crappy, especially earlier on, that it gave me a lot of ideas. I don't think I'll ever edit my videos to like the way yours are, because they're just so great. But but like, could you speak to like what editing software do you use? Like, how do you get all this, put all this stuff together?
Unfortunately, on a very old computer, so that's the backbone of the editing process at the moment. Whenever the project grows too big, it's constant crashing and not very fun, but that's something I'm working on. I'm using DaVinci Resolve. It's in the free version. It's a very widely distributed editing software with a professional license to it for I think $300, which is fine. If you ever need the few uh, features that are behind the paywall. It what I enjoy about it is the interface. It's not. It's weird. I've worked with Adobe products like for I don't know 15 years now, but when it comes to editing, I'm enjoying the node-based editing that DaVinci Resolve is approaching a lot more than like the layers from Adobe products. It helps like if you want to cross-integrate Photoshop and stuff, but yeah, I got really curious about DaVinci Resolve. A friend of mine is using it for professional photography, so he kind of kickstarted my knowledge, and yeah, that's how I came to DaVinci Resolve. And it's greatly documented with all kinds of tutorials on YouTube. It's very helpful. In terms of quality, I think I would never recommend the kind of content that I do to anyone because it just takes so goddamn long. It's kind of, if you break it down at the end, what you get in terms of hourly wage, if you ever do it professionally, it's just not worth it. So what I'm trying to do is kind of mix a strategy showcase with a bit of overall niche knowledge about the game that maybe not all players are familiar with, and just present it in an easily digestible way. I think there's a lot of stuff that I can still improve on. You know it, if you watch all your old videos, everyone knows like, oh god, there's so much you can improve every time. But yeah, kind of that's I try to develop this style a bit more, and I hope it resonates with people.
And that's kind of I wanted to learn more about how you developed your style. I think a lot about my own style. And just to give you some background, my mother was a graphics artist, and we're talking back in the day. She had Photoshop. She had all these programs that her company gave her, and she taught me how to use the editing software for more like magazines, not editing videos. We never did any video stuff, but that's how I've always been into it. I was in like journalism in high school, and I've always been into like graphic design and stuff like that. I'm not very good at it, but I really enjoy doing thumbnails. Like, kind of, what is your like? Did you have any background with editing videos or filming videos or anything like that?
Uh, kind of. I, first of all, I have a very, let's say, how do I say it without sounding like a dick? I have a very, I analyze a lot. That can be helpful, but it prevents me from enjoying a lot of stuff because I can't just look at things, if you know what I mean. Whatever it is, if I watch a series on Netflix, I'm looking, oh, that's a nice transition. Maybe I can use this sometimes. Or same with games. Ever since I did a couple of courses in game design and programming, you lose a certain innocence in the view on the game that you're playing. So that's kind of very I when I started making videos, I very much knew what I don't like about the videos that are out there. I understood why they are the way they are, and just wanted to make videos that I would enjoy more. Like I'm watching a lot of content creators in the HOI4 scene, but there's like a couple of elements that I always thought was missing, or could just enrich the whole experience. Because most of the videos or the big content creators went, let's call it the professional route, which mostly ends up in trying to get content out quickly, which I totally understand. You need to get content out quickly, otherwise you don't get views, get no money, and if you don't get money, you can't do it professionally. But in order to achieve this, you have to kind of I don't know if you experienced this, but YouTubers kind of start behaving in a very similar pattern, be it like how they do their intros. There's coming a hook every 20 seconds. You get a pre-roll. It feels scripted, you know?
There's a regression to the mean because you are playing to the audience, the greater audience, and not the niche community, I would say.
Exactly. And I totally understand why, I'm not putting anyone at fault for this or think it's something bad to do. It's just something that I personally didn't like as a style. So that's why I probably will never do YouTube professionally, because I'd rather do something that I'm really proud of in the end, once every month, instead of just looking at the numbers, I can't emphasize how much, or I can't emphasize this enough, that I don't want to like throw shade at any of the HOI4 YouTubers, because that's definite. I'm not trying to critique something here. It's really something about what you enjoy. It's maybe, the old Tauriel videos. That's when I really got hooked. When he showed that there is a different way to play this game, it was like eye-opening for me. Like I got into HOI4 through Quill18. Was following him for a very long time, and because he always covered the games I really liked, saw HOI4 instantly, bought it, got addicted, never stopped playing it since. And from there, kind of my interest narrowed down over time very much. And Tauriel was for me personally, the perfect YouTuber in terms of the HOI4 content that I wanted to see, because he was not playing the game as intended, and I loved it. He still does it, but he's kind of spread out his interest a bit more, and I totally get why. But that's when I started to fall in love with the idea to make YouTube videos for HOI4 sometime, maybe. And now I've been talking for quite a while. I'm not even sure if I'm still on topic.
No, that makes total sense. So it was Tarier 2018 that sparked your interest, huh? In Hearts of Iron 4?
It started with no, I forget his name again. Quill18. It's a Canadian guy.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Has he stopped? I haven't seen any of his stuff recently.
I couldn't tell, but he's not someone who's very prominent. Just a second. As far as I know, he's pumping out content as regular, but he's not showing up in recommended very often, because he's kind of also a content machine for so many types of games, ranging from like 4X to Microsoft Flight Simulator. But I assume he still does it. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him seen videos of him oh Jesus. But I haven't seen any videos of him for in a while now. But anyway, yeah, Quill18 notified me about this game, and I instantly bought it. But in terms of who I stuck with over the years, it was definitely Taurior, my Polish neighbor. Because I loved his calm approach, which was very different to the more aggressive nature of many YouTubers. And the very in-depth knowledge that he had, while people like Quill 18 only briefly touch on the game, like on a very surface level, how it's intended to be played. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into the game and how it developed in my head over the while.
Yeah, it looks
time.
like Quill is doing Victoria 3 and Stellaris. So
I see. Yeah.
you don't.
Classic.
If you never search for that, you probably never see his videos. So have you met any of these other YouTubers beside myself?
In person, no. I've talked with some of them, but not in person, no.
I told Hatless Spider the other day, he seems like he's a really, really nice guy, genuine guy. It seemed like the Hearts of Iron 4 community is more siloed. So in other words, like, you're doing your own thing, I'm doing my own thing. We are all communicating through each other through videos. I see your video and I get inspired to do something else. But it's a spin-off of what you do, for instance. And it sounds like that's what happened to you. This is just how it works. We all learn from each other. And kind of the reason why I started this podcast was I don't like the way that Hearts of Iron 4 YouTubers don't talk to each other. And it's not like I'm trying to like clout chase and like, I want to like go talk to Mon so that I get more views or something. I just want to make that clear to everyone. I just mispronounced your name. Mean. Sorry.
Thank you. I was just about to quit the call. No, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Sorry. But what I found through this journey, though, the only reason why I started a podcast is because through the ether, YouTube made a podcast shelf. And then Bitter had reached out to me that he wanted to collaborate. And we had. And then I was like, okay, let's do something else. Let's do a podcast. So Bitter was the first one who I did the podcast with, but I enjoy this so much for just doing it, just doing the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I talk to you and then you give me ideas and then you tell me about your play style. And I feel like it's more of a learning process than opening up the game and like, what am I going to do next? So I appreciate you being on the podcast and everything. So thank you very much. But yeah, this idea of like collaborating and does that appeal to you at all? Are you going to go to Paradox Con at all? Or are you ever going to show your face? Obviously I'm in a mask, as embarrassing as it is.
Yeah, if I'd switch my webcam on right now, you'd see a wall of conference badges behind me. So I've been on too many cons. I just don't care anymore, honestly. Maybe like under the umbrella of meeting people I want to meet, but not for being on cons or presentations. I hate it. I've done them so many. It was a great time. Like it's really awesome if you if publishers want to bribe you with nice hotels and a good flight and fancy meals to get a nice review, and you just don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. But
you can cuss, that's fine.
Oh, that's great. It's relieving. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of conferences or yeah, those big conventions, but there's a lot of people I'd like to meet, be it digitally or just hanging at a bar if there's ever the opportunity, because yeah, I'm more interested in exchanging ideas than being hyped about, I don't know, the next game or whatever it is, you know?
And you're talking from your professional experience, correct?
Both. Like, if if I have the choice, I always say no when it's time to go to conferences or events for the company. Business wise, But even privately, I'd rather have spent the weekend with my kids in the woods than doing another convention. But not because they are inherently bad. It's just something you have to be of a certain age to endure, endure and enjoy it. And I think that's totally fine. Yeah, it's what I really enjoy is what you hinted at in the beginning, like to slowly open up to other content creators, um, just to share experiences, best practices, and to collaborate on whatever it is. Like there's via Reddit, I found a YouTuber who does AI time lapses, and we had a very interesting idea about like an editing trick that I worked on and the stuff that he does. And so we're just conceptualizing if maybe there's something interesting there. And yeah, I don't know. If you'd asked me a couple of months ago, I'd say, nah, F that. I'm a loner. Like, leave me alone. I don't want this. But yeah, I think it had to slowly be of real interest to me instead of something I had to do as a YouTuber, you know? Because as a YouTuber, you collaborate, and that's kind of what prevented me the most from even reaching out to people, because it felt so cliche. And now that I've done it, I'm really happy and glad that I did.
Yeah, particularly in this format, because we're just talking. There's nothing on the line.
You got to be careful with how long you let me talk this. I always have to edit my audio to half the size because I'm just going on and on and on and on. Sometimes I'm really wondering if my viewers would be interested in all the rambling and hardcore in-depth that I go in my scripts. But when I then edit the video down, I think no one is going to be interested in that. And the video that was initially, I don't know, 50 minutes audio is then cut down to 20, 30 minutes at most. Because there's so much nerd stuff in there that I just have to cut out in terms of to kind of keep it somewhat interesting and not a total nerd fest.
I think you have the right amount of nerd in your videos. I wouldn't change anything about your videos, but this is a long format podcast, so I try to keep it around an hour. But like I just released a video. I interviewed the lead developer of Hearts of Iron 4, and I cut it. I had my editor, cut it down to 5 minutes, and it did way better than the hour podcast. So,
yeah.
However, I do not want to edit this conversation. I want it to be what it is. And then we need to build off of that and find that audience, the ones that want the long format, because our conversation will lose a lot of meaning if it's just a soundbite. And it's not, like you said, there's an ideal way of doing things. And this is my machination of a podcast. It's not like we're going to cut out half of what we record today. It's genuine. It's authenticity. So yeah, I'll throw it through the editor and we'll take out pauses, but that's it. You're doing great. Who's the one person in the Hearts of Iron 4 community that you would like to meet, YouTuber wise?
Oh, probably Toria, because I'm like, he got kids the same time or around the same time that I did. He always felt, or from the stuff that he talked about, is the ideas in his head appeared very European, something that I value very much. So yeah, it's definitely someone that I'd like to share a beer with someday, if it's possible.
Dude, that guy is, yeah. To me, he's like you. He's like one of the greats, the Hearts of Iron 4 OGs. Yeah, I would definitely. So I don't know. I've done some things that I never thought I would do on this channel. Like my Discord asked me to reach out to Dankus the other day. So I did. And then we had a podcast. And I was just like, I don't know. It
It's
blew my
surprised it
mind.
works. Yeah,
I just asked someone like, "Hey, do you want to talk for an hour?" And they're like, "Yes." So I will reach out, and this is the thing. Like, I am afraid of like being rejected, and Tarir saying, "No, I won't talk to you." But if he does, that's fine. But like, just mentally, like, it's like exercise for me. Now that I talk to you, I will reach out to Tarir some way and put myself out there. And then, hey, maybe we could have a 3-way conversation on this podcast. That
I'd
would
love to.
be awesome. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, sure. Anytime when there's an opportunity to nerd out about the game and just talk with familiar minds, I'm always down.
Yeah, and you mentioned your family. Obviously, your family is very important to you, as it is to me. Um, Bitter just had a new child, uh, born the other day, a couple weeks ago, and he also announced that he was going to do YouTube full time, which
Oh, geez.
is
His
it,
first child, like I knew, like there was one on the way, but or is it already his second?
it's his second. I
Oh,
believe
geez.
he has two
I hope his
boys.
wife. Oh, I don't know. Oh, sorry, Bitter. I don't know what you did. You don't know what you did to yourself. This is going to be such a great adventure, but I don't envy you. I'm so happy my kids are already a bit older.
Do you have two
Oh.
children?
Yes, I have two, and it's awesome. It's great. Like, I can't recommend it high enough, but I would lie if I'd say it's easy to get uh, YouTube, work, family, all that under one umbrella. But our situation is very different here because we run our own company and made the foolish move to kind of move as far away from family as possible. So there's no one to drop the kids off now. So it's yeah, a lot of full-time jobs, but it's great time. Yeah, I wish him all the best. Not only for the kids, of course, but for full-time YouTube as well. It's very bold move. I applaud anyone who's willing to put them out there, put themselves out there. Yeah, it's great. Lucky to
Is
hear that.
is everything working out for you in terms of balancing work life, family, and YouTube? Like, how do you
Yeah.
do your videos? Like at night, like right now, or
Yes, mostly. Yeah, the problem is that's how I'd love to do it and how I would do it if I'd be a bit younger. But now I already feel that it's difficult to do certain tasks in the evening because I'm just so brain dead after a full day of work plus kids. There's just I can't do. I don't know. I don't write scripts in the evening. I don't do audio recordings in the evening. I do a lot of strategizing and trying out, but all the recordings I do, all the videos that I do, usually happens either during the week or when there's an opportunity on the weekend. Like I said, we're my wife and I we own the company that we work at, which is a burden because it requires a lot of work. But on the upside, it also means I can say, okay, fuck this, I'm staying at home doing videos today. And that's, yeah, sometimes I do exactly that because I'm most productive if I'm just at home, the kids are at daycare, my wife is at work, I'm just here with the cat and I can do videos. And that's when I'm most productive and when I get the most video work done most of the time, yeah.
yeah, I think Bitter edits his videos himself as well. I can't remember because I've talked to so many people, but do you edit? You're editing yourself, obviously, in DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Mostly because it's half the fun for me. Like I've played this game so much, it's mostly just conceiving a strategy and then being able to capture it once on video. But I get a lot of the enjoyment comes from the editing process, creative ideas, playing around with cameras. Now a bit, I've experimented a bit with 3D space projections, and there's so much magical stuff that you can do. I just scratched the surface of it, and yeah, that's what I'd say I enjoy the most. Bringing it kind of all together and nerding out about single frame problems and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't have a head for editing, but I felt like embarrassed if I didn't edit my videos. So I do what I can and watch, you know, videos that like you produce or, you know, whoever, and try to glean ideas like you do. Um, but yeah, so while we're on the topic, what's next? Are you working on anything you can share?
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, I do. Still in the evaluation phase. I'm still at this very like I'm convinced I have to do a certain strategy, let's say it this way, for how I do my videos. Which means I'm not fully free of shackles at the moment. Meaning I don't do strategies which I consider interesting, but which I know would be not as interesting to the majority of my audience. So what I'm basically doing at the moment is checking off all major nations. Doing a speed run with each and every one of them. I'm through with most of them. It's just UK and US that I haven't done, and one of them is going to be the next video.
That's exciting. And I struggle with that concept myself, with basically you know what your audience wants, and then it's what you want. So if you just do what you want, you will get no views, which is not like, oh, I don't get views, I'm not popular, woe is me. It's more like, what am I doing if people aren't appreciating what I'm doing? And the views tell you that they are appreciating you. So
yeah, let's not talk about the ego side of things, because that's probably the 90% of the whole thing. Like the getting the rush from numbers and notifications. Can't deny that's like a drug. And I'm definitely doing it for that as well. But I'd say anything that you do, as long as it's, I mean, you're doing it yourself, so it's always something very personal. And if you just do a little better with every video, there's, I think, always a place. It's the biggest issue, and that's why I'm so grateful for this, let's call it seeding video, the Roman Empire speedrun video that we talked about before, because I honestly believe that took me, or that spared me months, if not years, of building an audience, because it taught YouTube exactly what my audience is, and I could piggyback off that quite a bit. That gives me kind of a bit of freedom. Like, I don't feel constrained to only do certain things. So I kind of try to find a balance between something that is of interest to me, which is sometimes weird, because if sometimes I talk to people and say, "Yeah, I have this strategy, and you can do this and that in 1938," and I'm instantly not interested anymore, because if it happens in 38, it's way too late for me to pique my interest. And that's so detached from most of the player base, you know. That's I still can find things that are very interesting to me, and because they are interesting to me, and it's this very niche of things. When you hear about them, the first reaction is, "Yo, you're shitting me. Like, you're doing what in what time frame?" And that's all I'm doing at the moment right now. Like, I'm and I use this kind of to be a bit creative in editing, in what I do, to just try myself out a bit, until I feel a bit more confident to then also branch out into maybe videos that are not so much speedruns, still Hearts of Iron 4, but maybe in a different direction. but I'm scared about doing that this early in the process.
So your content style, I admire you, and I said the same thing to Pigeon. I don't know if you're aware of Pigeon's content. Are you?
Yeah, we're on the same Discord.
Oh,
You as well, my friend.
duh. Okay. Well, so basically, you and him have stuck to your guns and your content style, which I have not been able to do. That's what I told him, and I appreciate it. So I feel like there is more of the feel type of YouTuber. Like when I talk to Dankus, he's like, I just turn on the camera and start talking. Okay, but you know, there's advantages and disadvantages. You're able to come up with content very quickly. Your watch time probably goes down. So in that case, like Dankus has an editing team, like Tommy K.
Yeah. That's. I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you here, but I think, especially if you look like look at people like Dankus, if you look at it, many of the interaction with the camera doesn't differ that much to talking on Discord. And these people have been playing multiplayer excessively for a very long time. And they started streaming at a very early stage with just a couple of viewers, couple of hundred viewers. And then it really, really blew off. But it also blew off when he found his style. Like when he started, he was all over the place. And now, if you watch a Dankus video, you know what you're in for. That was very different back then. And I think that's more akin to the truth. It works for him because he is the work. He trained himself so good that of course he can just not of course it's like I admire that very much. He can switch off the camera and talk about Hearts of Iron multiplayer as the expert that he is in it, and can do that in a very entertaining way for a certain audience. But I don't think, like, I would always be very careful in comparing yourself because Dankes, because of his history, is who he is right now. But he needed to find his style first as well, and I think that's not different with you as well. If you perceive it that way, that you've been inconsistent with your style, that only means you haven't found it yet. And that only works if you just keep trying and keep watching. And if you find something that you want to do, just do that. Copy it. It won't be anything like the thing that you're copying it from because you're doing it yourself, and that instantly makes it unique. That's kind of how I view it. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, those were very wise words, and I think you're speaking about branding and if things are inauthentic, people just are not going to watch it. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
You're authentic. That's what I appreciate about you. And like, have you seen this channel, Historia Civilis? I'm sure you have.
I've come across it. Yeah, I think so.
So he reminds me of you a lot because his videos are on point like yours, but he has a low churn rate. So he doesn't come out with videos that awesome. That often. They are awesome videos. But you could see here he's got 1 million views, 1.6. Like he's hitting the hammer on the head every time. And that's kind of like a lot of production value, but less content. And anyway, that's how I feel like there's two ends of the spectrum. And I'm over like I can't even like read a script. It just doesn't work for me. And like I have to like refilm it like 10 times. Do you find that problem when you're reading through scripts and stuff, or
like no, but that's because I have a very work intensive workflow. I record my videos separately from the audio recording, which liberates in a way because it's very independent of another, but it becomes a headache in editing if you haven't thought it through from the beginning. I always run into the issue that my script starts to jump into in time very quickly towards the end. That basically every sentence is a big thing that's happening in the game, and in the end I sit there and just think, fuck, how I'm supposed to edit this together so it just isn't like a photo slideshow of now we do this, that's
Yeah.
the end. So it's yeah, but the reason it works for me is I feel safe doing this. I'm like, I have a writing background, so I can first lay out the script, which I derive from my notes from the strategy anyway. I read through it a couple of times, try to cut it down at least twice already at that point. Then I do the audio recording, then I edit the audio recording, clean it up, shorten it again, cut out stuff that I find uninteresting, audio issues, etc. And then only then I start bringing the audio and the video together. Yeah, it's a very tedious process, and I'd love to be able to speak more freely, but yeah, this method kind of works for me because you kind of hear the difference between someone speaking freely and a narrated script. It's a very slim difference, but I think you can hear it. So yeah, it helps kind of bridge between sentences, and there's so much stuff that I want to still try out, but that's kind of my workflow. Overkill.
So
Overkill everywhere.
but it works. So the
Yes.
the proof is there that it works. So then that's great. So Pigeon announced on my podcast that he was going to go for more of a longer format style.
Mhm.
Are you going to try to branch out eventually? Do you have any idea about a new style? Would you set up a new YouTube channel for that style? What do you think?
I'm always full of ideas. Let's put it this way. And there are a lot of topics that I would like talking about, but because of my ego issues, I couldn't survive if whatever I put out doesn't reach a certain audience. So I'm just very fragile in that regard. So whatever I do, I have to be certain that it finds at least a decent size audience. Not about hundred thousands or millions of views. That's not. But I couldn't continue the grind if I'd starve for 10, 20 views. Like that's I just can't. It's and so I'm very hesitant with branching out yet before even having established like a solid standing with what I do now. But there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to do. Like I hinted at this time lapse thing, which might end up in a short documentary about an historical event, maybe alternative history. We don't know. We don't quite know yet. It's mostly just a test balloon to see if it catches on, if it's something that we're interested in. But it's definitely something that has not been seen yet. And I've posted a teaser on Reddit and it blew up instantly. So I'm quite certain that there's an audience for it.
Are you going to post this on your main channel?
No, definitely not. It's not something that I think works with my audience. But I don't know. It's at the moment because it's not sure where the whole thing is going. I think we're gonna upload it as with the guy I'm collaborating with. I'm not dropping his name because it's all just talking and testing so far. So yeah, not sure, but that's one thing. The other thing is history in general. Big history nerd. Always thought about using Hearts of Iron 4 kind of as a vehicle to, or yeah, kind of a visual vehicle to talk about personal history stories. Like there's so many stuff about, I don't know, Pearl Harbor this, Pearl Harbor that, Stalingrad here, fall of Berlin, whatever. It's done so many times. Of course, it's like you can do it again, put your own twist on it, and it might catch on. But I was always interested to tell my family story, which obviously becomes kind of a doxing issue if it becomes too obvious. But I'm very interested in politics, and I think there's a lot, or there are a lot of important things to learn from previous generations, and hearing their stories about war is a big aspect of it. And yeah, since me being German, there's a decent chunk of my family history either not present or survived one of the wars, and some of them are still alive. Even with my granddad is 95 now, and they have interesting stories to tell. Stories that I think might be interesting for my audience, which is still even a bit younger than myself. So their grandparents from that generation might not be around anymore. So it's maybe something worth preserving or handing on. So that's something I'm intrigued to do, but haven't found a format on how to safely and comfortably talk about it yet. Yeah.
So that sounds amazing. Like I'm already like, all right, I got to make sure I got notifications on for M3an's channel here because I'd love to see something like that. I'm going to give you the advice that I gave Bitter. Bitter was struggling. He went away from his main thumbnail strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I told him. YouTube lets you miss like once or twice. It lets you play. You can't like do it 10 times, but the thumbnail came out. It was great. He showed it to me. It was awesome. It's up on his channel. I think the video performed as usual, but my point is overall, you want your content to be similar, obviously, but I'm just telling you, you can do like try something different. It'll work. It won't work. It's not going to ruin your channel. It'll be okay. But I mean, I would like to hear a story, one of your grandfather's stories. I would love to hear that. And it's all history, and you have to take out your own ego. It is a thing that happened in the past. It has very little connection to us now, and that's why it's so important, so that we can learn from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, one of my ancestors signed the Declaration of Independence and was also a slave owner. That's incredibly embarrassing, but it is what it is. I can't change it, but it is also interesting and part of history.
Let me help you there. So not something to laugh about, but one of the stories I'd like to talk about is my grandfather on my father's side. Very, very pleasant, heartwarming person. Only ever knew him as the most kind person ever. He died. We found his war journal, full-blown Wehrmacht, with cleansing Polish villages, mass executions. Created an interesting experience in the family, let's put it this way. But I think the important bit is about, I mean, I have no connection to how this person developed, but I can draw direct lines from what he did and what he experienced to the situation I'm in right now, how it's shaped politically, socially. It kind of not only, but derived from parts of that generation. And it's very interesting kind of to track backwards and forwards in time sometimes and kind of make connections just to be able to understand just how certain things were able to happen in the first place. Yeah.
Well, I have found that in my personal work, thinking that I was going to be able to change an organization, very wrong, by the way. And I see that now reflecting upon it as my own ego, basically. And the greater, I don't know, political sphere, like cultural sphere, you'll not be able to change it yourself as one person. But you need to have your ego in check to make sure that you understand the situation that you're in. I don't want to move off the topic if you want to talk more about your family history, but I wanted to ask you, how do you keep your ego in check? You're saying, you're mean in the past, and I most certainly had been that as well. What do you do?
Oh, that's difficult. I think a big part of it is my wife, no doubt. Kind of to if I spaz out or behave erratically, she can always pull up the mirror and help me to kind of reflect on what state I'm in. That's definitely a big part. A lot of it is just becoming older and learning from experience, and empathy in the end. Just which just comes over time. I'm just convinced of that. It just takes a while for everyone, and that's why we're also mean kids and assholes during puberty and around that time, because we just can't very much empathize with people. We can with, I don't know, dogs and cats, but if I don't know, some bum is rotting in the street, it's very difficult to emphasize with other people's stories at that age. So I think it just needs some time. I'm not sure if I'm still on topic.
You are all. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Like, for me, I'll go to like a party or a gathering or something, and I'd be like, yeah, I just went out surfing the other day, and I saw this old guy, not like he wasn't a homeless person, but he was out surfing, and I just sat there and I thought, this guy is going to steal my wave. Like, get out of here. And, I was just telling it to a friend, like, that thought, I want to erase that from my mind. Like,
okay. We were talking about how to keep ego in check. I see. Yeah. Okay.
So
okay,
basically, so like that, there's that aspect of myself. I don't think that way anymore, but like, getting out the negativity that just pops out in your mind. Like, where did this come from? But like, I think that surfing for me, when I look out over the waves, there's nothing but water. There are sharks all around. And then you see, like, I've had a whale come up right next to me. I had a baby whale come like 10 feet up next to me. You see, but this stuff happens all the time, like dolphins. You see birds. You have many like encounters with nature. And the point is, besides the waves, sometimes the waves are 15 foot. It makes you realize you're just this small little part. Like, that wave could just cream you. There's nothing you could do about it. Or this shark could eat you. There's nothing you could do about it. All your, presuppositions about who you are and how powerful you are erased when you get into the water. So that's one of the strategies. But if you stop doing that thing that keeps your ego in check, I feel like I start going the wrong direction again. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
I think I just very recently had a talk with a good friend of mine who is very much into Buddhism, and she tries to negate anything that goes into this ego direction, kind of, which I just can't understand. I get the idea behind it, kind of be this to stand above this these petty human feelings. On the other side, I have to admit, I chose a different strategy. Kind of, I view it as a drug addict views his allegedly controlled habits. So I'm very purposely feeding and starving it, which works at times. Sometimes it's not very healthy, but it helped me to kind of artificially build up self-esteem when there was none back in the day, and then slowly replace that with actual confidence from seeing, hey, I don't fall on the nose all the time, or I don't know, I don't get rejected all the time, whatever it is, whatever experience you get in that time. Kind of replaced it over the years, but definitely helped to pretend for a while.
Yeah, I have that self-discipline is, you could either be just a complete wild man like a savage on the internet, in which case you'd probably get canceled or something, or you're incredibly disciplined about your content. So I feel like I can tell that you get that ego in check because you're doing the work. And like you said, it's painful. It's not like, I'm sure when you're sitting there for a month editing a video and stuff, like it's not an easy process.
It's the opposite, actually. It's the opposite. I do this for my ego. I cannot stand mistakes. I don't know how many times I export my video and edit it because of, I don't know, a transition glitch where you see a black frame for a second or a split second, or when there is an audio hiccup or stuff like that. I cannot publish stuff like that because I hear it, and when I hear it, I'm not happy with it. And when I know about these issues but still publish it, I'm going to beat myself up over it, because fixing those mistakes is often so little work compared to the overall work that that went into the project as a whole. So it's kind of I wouldn't value myself that much if I could just sign it off and just here, take it. It's the bane of my existence. Like, I have a very hard time handing in something, be it for clients or whatever, that I'm not 100% confident in. I can acknowledge that it's not the best of the best. That's otherwise you never get content out or work done, whatever it is. But when talking with a client about it, or when viewers comment about it, or when I look at the analytics of the video, I need this self-assurance that I did, not the best that I could. It's very different to pinpoint, but that I made what I wanted. Like, it came out how I wanted. I didn't compromise. I put the work in, and when it failed, and in the end, I can deduct why and not have to guess, if it's full of errors, if the audio is like, there's 100 sources that are potentially ruining the experience, and it's difficult to really narrow it down. But if you already try to eliminate these errors, there are still ways more, like the usual issue if you watch videos back that you did way back, which you thought were perfect, are just not. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. And it really helps me, because then I can always say I did the best that I could, and it just didn't resonate with people, which is fine. That's something I can live with. I cannot live with, I had the idea and it could reach 100,000 people, but because I was lazy, it got, I don't know, 5,000 views. That's something I would beat myself up over. If the content of the video is worth so much more, but because the presentation is lacking, it just didn't or doesn't or can't reach its full potential. That's where kind of my mindset is coming from.
Well, I'm going to say this as a fan of your channel, very selfishly. I would like you to make more mistakes and forgive yourself so that I can have more content to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. We'll see. I'd rather see, for example, I thought about this. Of course I thought about this. I can cut corners and release a video every 2 weeks instead of this hopefully once a month schedule that I'm kind of eyeballing at the moment. But to be honest, when after I've published a video, it usually takes at least 2 weeks before I even found a topic that I'm interested in. It's rare, very rare, that I already have a backlog of new stuff that I want to do, which is mostly due to like this slow upload schedule, because I'm always scared that between uploads there's another patch and who ruins all my strategies, which happens quite frequently, unfortunately. So yeah, I thought about it, and the way I want to achieve it is to improve my workflows, get a better computer, learn a couple more shortcuts, build more presets for stuff that I regularly reuse, so I can speed up my workflow and get more videos out, but staying or even increasing the quality. That's kind of the way I want to go. Let's see if it works out. I don't know yet. You'll see.
Well, the ideas that you had are great. And now I have I want to see those ideas like fleshed out. I want to hear, the stories. But a clue might be, so as YouTube keeps building out all these shelves, what I find is the podcast is not interacting with my other videos. Like I don't know this for sure. This is just my guess. But as they keep building out categories, maybe this could encourage you. So the podcast category, I don't think is going to affect my video category or my live stream category. I think that they are trying to split the viewer bases. Obviously, your subscribers will always get notifications if they have notifications on. But what I'm challenging you to do is perhaps your ideas about your story could go on the podcast shelf. And maybe that will, in your own mind, give you the freedom to play in a new content strategy out of your video shelf. Keep your video shelf the same, but then perhaps try that content as a live stream or a podcast. I don't know. What do you think?
It's definitely a good idea. I'm a bit torn on the issue because of what you pointed out. It's the subscriber thing. It's one of the reasons why, despite being an old fuck, I've never done any short content, despite thinking that I probably could make a couple of good ones, is because YouTube looks very much at how your videos perform with your subscribers. And if you have subscribers with very, very different interests, the signals that you send out might be very conflicting. So you often see this with shorts who have millions of views, but if you look at their channel, which is maintained well with daily content, they just get 10, 20,000 views on their content, and the videos are mostly just shit as well.
But see, that's the clue, is that they're separate categories. So that was a problem last year with shorts, and Google has claimed that they have separated it out to where they are not interconnected anymore. So I would say look into it, because I have started doing shorts because like you alluded to, in the past, I put a short up, all my views would go down. Like, what the heck? Okay, you're telling me to not produce content. You want me to produce content, right, YouTube? But now I don't see the interconnectedness between the categories anymore. So something to consider, because I want more stuff from you, you have a lot to share, obviously.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely will try. And I will consider it, because I will consider it. I haven't thought it through at all, so it definitely is something that I haven't had on my radar, and if I had it, then from a very negative perspective. So this helps quite a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I think we'll end it on that. And wow, this one this one was a doozy for me, because listening to you, trying to your perspective is so much different than mine. It's taught me a lot, and I really appreciate you being on the podcast and sharing all that with me, because now that will help me develop my own content style, which I've not been able to pin down as of yet, but it's always a work in progress.
Definitely, it's great fun. Maybe we do this another time again, and then talk about the game. Didn't really this time. But it was really great fun hanging out. I appreciate the invitation, and I wish you all the best for the format.
Absolutely. I would love for you to come on and talk about whatever you want to talk about again. And you'll definitely, I'll extend you an invitation for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mean. And go check out his content on YouTube, subscribe and put on notifications. He does not post that much, but when he does, it is a banger. So this is ESG out.